Welcome to Talk the Walk. I'm Sarah Wong. More than 6 weeks since invading Ukraine, Russian President Vladimir Putin appears to be struggling to achieve his military goals. His forces are withdrawing from northern Ukraine and amassing in the east, where large swathes of territory are controlled by Russia-backed rebels. Accusations of war crimes are growing amid reports of civilian killings and indiscriminate attacks that are at odds with the Kremlin's narrative about its so-called special military operation. Beyond the geopolitical maneuvering among nations and the battles of words between leaders, how are ordinary Ukrainians faring as war continues to be waged on them in the name of liberation? We're now joined by Olga Podgayna from southeastern Ukraine to share her experience during the invasion. Olga, good morning to you. Thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, thank you also. Yeah, good morning.
Now, more than 4.2 million people have left Ukraine since Russia attacked your country. Why did you stay?
Yeah, it's because first, it's my homeland. I grew up and lived all the time in Ukraine. And it's truly complicated to change the life in one day because of the aggression act of another country. So I decided to help locally as much as it can be possible. So basically, on the 24th of February, Russia activated their forces on the Ukrainian borders, and I woke up from the explosions in Kiev. So honestly, the explosions was overall across the Ukraine in almost each Ukrainian city. And currently the situation is still dynamic.
Tell us what's the situation on the ground where you are, and what about your family? How are they doing during the war?
Yeah, so basically the aggression from Russia is still not stopped, so it still continue. So the proofs of this aggression and war crimes are now in Bucha, it's Kiev region, so all the world seeing now the results of this aggression. And still horrible stuff still continues in Mariupol. So basically Russia attacked Ukraine. And about my family, so they are still in Ukraine, so they are working more than a month without a break. And I still have no possibility to see them, unfortunately, because they are in the hot spots currently. So it's truly complicated to live with this.
Do you have family or friends who left Ukraine because of the war?
Yes, there are a lot of them. So one day when this things started, like in a few days later, I lived with my friends, and there were more than 70 people in one house. So they are just going to the borders and trying to leave country fast. But a lot of the people also stayed in Ukraine, still continue to survive and continue to fight for our freedom.
As you mentioned, we've seen astounding reports about a town of Bucha where mass graves of Ukrainians were discovered after Russian troops withdrew from the area just near capital Kyiv. Your president, Volodymyr Zelensky, denounced Russian troops for committing war crimes and genocide. Russia, of course, denied and accused your country of spreading propaganda. I wonder how important it is for you and your fellow Ukrainians for the culprits to be held accountable for the atrocities committed against your people.
Yeah, it's really important for us still to survive. And what President Zelensky mentioned yesterday, it's the truth. It's truly genocide of our nation. All those war crimes will be on the Russia side, and they need to understand that we will not left it as it is. So we will still continue to survive. We will still continue to fight. And I hope one day our country will reborn.
Talking about negotiations or efforts in a bid to achieve peace in your country, we know that earlier in the Turkish city of Istanbul, Ukrainian and Russian negotiators appear to have been making some progress. Russia promised to scale back attacks in and around capital Kyiv and some of the northern areas, for example, and instead to focus on the territory in the eastern Donbass region. Are they upholding that promise, in your knowledge?
Unfortunately, no. Airstrikes, unfortunately, haven't stopped. they are still continue to attack Ukrainian cities. The most active attacks are still in the east and south of Ukraine. They withdrew only from the places where they couldn't hold their positions. So unfortunately, the situation is currently still almost the same.
I know that you mentioned the really dire situation in Mariupol and many major Ukrainian cities like Kharkiv and other areas as well. I wonder, you said you've been, staying in Ukraine to help the local residents here. I wonder, for people who are outside of Ukraine, like us in Hong Kong, what would you tell them that what is the most needed for ordinary Ukrainians, for those who are still staying in the country, and how could they help?
To be honest, first of all, we are thankful for all the countries that are supporting us currently, for sharing this information across the world, to sharing the truth. Also, we are asking the whole world to understand that this is Russian war, is against the peaceful civilian people in Ukraine. We see all these proofs in Bucha, in Irpin, and other cities in Ukraine, also in Mariupol. So we are still continuing the horror things happening. In the Hong Kong, people will support us to share the truth also across the world as much as it can be possible. It will support us to have more motivation to survive more and to fight even more for our homeland.
Your President Zelensky has also been appealing for Western leaders to help since day one of the invasion. For example, Zelensky has been tirelessly asking for a no-fly zone, but that has been rejected by leaders of NATO, including the United States. The United States has also been wrestling with Poland over Warsaw's suggestion to send warplanes to your country, all in the name of avoiding further escalation. Europe itself is split over the decision to ban Russian oil and gas imports, to impose an embargo. All of this politics, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, to be honest, it's first of all, it's horrible. But at the same time, war crimes already happening, and day by day, Russian army is still continue doing this. At the same time, the escalation reached its peak. It's horrible reality with what we are living day by day. Each air force mean for me and for people who are also living in Ukraine that somebody can die in a few minutes, or somebody's life will be fully destroyed. Overall, we desperately need to close fly zone over Ukraine. Our army is fighting with dignity, but we do not neglect aid with weapons. We need this help, to be honest. Also, Putin aims to destroy in Ukraine our values, our freedom, and our culture. We're seeing it because they are destroying our schools, they are destroying our hospitals, but unfortunately, his plan will be not going to the life. So we will fight until the end. It will not happen.
Have you lost anyone during the war? Anyone you know?
Yes, I lost my friends. They was in the army. It was a few people, but I know a lot of people who are died in Ukraine because of the Russia aggression.
I'm very sorry to hear that, Olga. If you have a chance to directly appeal to leaders who are afraid of further escalation, afraid of this Russia's war against Ukraine to become a larger conflict, a European war, what would you say to them?
I would say that we really need your support. We are really thankful also for all what you are doing now, but we really need support with the weapons to support our army to survive and to fight for our freedom, because currently we are surviving not only for Ukraine, we are also surviving for the overall world to have a peaceful life and live even better than it was before the war started.
I understand that you also have some friends in Russia. Are they having the same impression as you as of what's happening on the ground of Ukraine?
To be honest, they are honestly don't believe what happening here, unfortunately, and it's horrible. I have friends who have family in Russia, and they are fully reached and fully under the Russia propaganda. So they don't hear and don't believe us, and also. Families don't believe their children, so and it's truly horrible situation in the ground. So it's not only Putin war because it's also war against humanity. So because people also come into our homeland and killing our people. So it's truly horrible situation now.
We also seen reports of, anti-war protests in Russia and the mass arrest in the aftermath. In a general picture, do you think that the Russian people support what their military and political leaders are doing to Ukraine?
Yeah, we are really thankful for all the people who have this possibility to try to say something in Russia, because it's truly important for us to see this support. But unfortunately, it's not enough. I understand why they are scaring this huge things and this war, but at the same time, they shouldn't scared to say more things to the world that why it's happened on the ground and that we need to change it. So I hope one day they will do this, but it should be here and now. So they are not shouldn't postpone it.
Okay, Olga, we'll talk more about your experience in Ukraine since Russia invaded your country on the other side of the break. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us.